Abhay, thanks so much for making the time to be here.
Great to be here.
Hey, I'll get right into it. Tell me a little bit more about, what you do at this point in time, and tell me a little bit more about the company that you're building, and let's start there.
Sure. Yeah, happy to be here, and congrats on all the great announcements.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think so. I'm founder CEO of a company called Typeface. We are really focused on using these breakthroughs in AI platforms that we have been talking about, but applied specifically towards marketing and customer experience. How do we actually take these large models and their power, but then uniquely train them on your business, your company specific products, your language, and how you talk to your customers, and then giving you a very deeply personalized AI agent just for your business.
Hey, that's fascinating, right? So I want to double click into this concept of personal AI, right? I'll give you an example of when I try to run a model from my laptop. I notice that I feel a lot more comfortable sharing a lot more information with the model that's running on my laptop versus a model that's running in the cloud. Help me understand from a marketer's perspective. Obviously, you need any data that you can get, any data that you can get to be able to put the right product in front of me. How do you balance that with safety and security as you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. And in many ways, there are two almost kind of a competing forces here, where these AI models are getting ever more powerful and richer by every day.
Yeah.
But the way they're getting richer and more powerful is by ingesting more and more data. Right. Now, if it's public domain data, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But whenever you talk about enterprises now putting their own business data about their customers, about their products, about their customer segmentation, that's a very sensitive proprietary private data. And by the way, then you and I also as consumers also have the same issue. Which is my personal pictures, my personal music taste. So as the value of that data goes higher because it's very unique to me as a person or unique to me as a business, the AI models can become that much more powerful. But then the bar for what it means to secure them, manage them, govern them properly is significantly higher.
That's exactly right. Part of what we announced today was trying to make sure that AI safety and security becomes a lot easier from a tool perspective. Talk to me a little bit about as you were building, going through this journey of yours. What do your customers come to you and say, hey, listen, we worry about security and safety. How do you manage that today?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, it's a great question, and I'll touch a little bit upon some of the things you guys announced, which are pretty exciting. But if I look at what customers are telling us, everyone is excited about power of these AI systems and all the cool workflows you can enable. But there are two topics that almost always come up as the primary blockers before they can deploy these systems in production. One is all the change management around their people skills and how do they retrain. So that's a pretty big deal.
That's a big one, yeah.
But the second and probably the biggest one is the governance, safety, security, that, hey, how do you ensure any data we ingest doesn't leak back to the public platforms? Or whatever data the AI model is using, it is using it only within the guardrails of what we consider acceptable business policies and practices. And so there are two things about your announcement that I actually thought was pretty interesting. One, as companies are doing lots of models, lots of apps, you do not want a fragmented point-by-point security governance strategy, because even if you did that, very quickly now you end up with 50 different policy frameworks that you have to manage. And so the fact that in your AI defense you talked about, which is a kind of a horizontal cross-platform, cross-model framework, that you put it in place once so that you can do validation across these. But then probably the second one that's more relevant for us at Typeface is you also have ability to deploy this seamlessly through your existing fabric.
That's right.
And so that means for an application company like us, we can just count on those policies being in place.
That's right.
And not have to go again convince IT and CIOs like, hey, we have a whole different security framework. We can just literally layer on top of what you guys are doing.
No, I love it. I bet you literally, I'm going to use this in this part of the talk track with every single one of our customers, right? I think that's been what we're hearing is most exciting, with most of the customers that we're talking to, is because when you have to go to every single developer and get them to sit down and make a change and modify something, you're just going to slow things down.
And by the way, they also have to have a trust relationship with the vendor.
That's right.
As much as they look at startups like Typeface to do a lot of innovative workflows, we are not their trusted security infrastructure provider. And
that's a very key point, right? Because you want somebody that wakes up every day in the morning, thinks about security, thinks about how is this model going to be broken, and then protects you from that. And it shouldn't be like a side gig or a side hustle, right? So I think you're spot on. Shifting gears a little bit, you've obviously spent a bunch of time in building tools for creative purposes. You've had your stint at Adobe, where you built amazing products over there. talk to me a little bit about, when people said large language models are going to do interesting things, almost everybody expected that the creative world would be the last thing that gets touched by models like this because they'll automate a bunch of things away. But in fact, the inverse happened. And you have figured that out before it happened, and you started a company in that spot. So talk to me about like how, this whole expectation of what the models can do got completely inverted.
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating question. And in some ways, we're still in early innings of that. So I'm not even sure it's all fully played out yet. But at least where we sit here today, I would say there are a couple of things. One, if you look at the role of computers in kind of last 2, 3, 4 decades in our lives, both personal and professional, they've mostly been kind of computing and automation assistants. They have more brute power to do Excel formulas faster or better. But they have never really crossed over to become like creative companions for us, where all our creative ideation, coming up with new ideas, and that has always been a domain of very specialized tools, very specialized skill sets. And one of the things that's most exciting about this shift, that I think people are correctly worried about what jobs AI will displace and stuff. But I don't think we are talking enough about the new jobs that get created because now creative and ideation endeavors become accessible to hundreds of millions of people. That was not possible today.
That's a fascinating perspective.
And so to your point, everyone thought, hey, but those creative ideation kind of activities will be the last kind of step of AI models. When in fact, I actually think these AI models are going to give each of us ability to become far more creative and far more actually express ourselves using the power of these models. And so I think that is a shift. Now, that said, there is a portion that you correctly said, some rote automation tasks like sitting in front of a computer monitor and resizing images for every known ad format on the planet. Nobody wants to waste hours doing that. And so I think AI will drive automation and efficiencies and cost savings. And some of those jobs probably will shift. But I think what they'll shift to will be a lot more exciting, at least to humans, these creative endeavors.
No, I love the fact that, a lot of times none of us like to do the same thing over and over again, right? If you can, everybody wants to be part of that creative decision-making process, and that flow is really what drives innovation. That makes a ton of sense. Let me ask you this. If you had your way in the world, which you probably already do, but what would, if you waved a magic wand and you said, listen, I want to be able to get this from an AI model, an AI agent, what would that be? What is that thing that you think, that AI could solve? It's not there quite yet, but if it did this, that'd be incredibly cool. What would that one thing be?
That's that in my personal passions domains or in work domain, because those answers probably will be
anything. Like your top, like if you had to pick one, like what would that be?
That's a great question, and probably varies by. Maybe I'll give you two. One, I have a
work one and a personal one.
I have a 19-year-old son that we have some shared hobbies. So I'll give you one on the personal one, but the professional one, I would tell you, kind of maybe going back to what we said. We all get drowned in emails and Slack messages and kind of video conferencing meetings. And I think productivity has always been a kind of a pursuit with computers. I actually think if I could get an agent that truly understands my creative process.
Oh, nice.
Of really thinking about how to, I'm a product builder at heart, as you are. And so anything that will help me, where it's an agent or an AI system that knows how my creative process works, which I myself do not have a way of expressing in some formal software. It figures out and it becomes a partner. I'm sure you do this, you're a product builder, you build amazing companies, is when you have that high bandwidth exchange with a co-founder or somebody, and if an AI system can become that creative partner, that I think would be amazing.
That's magic.
On the professional side. I think on the personal side, probably me and my son are big into Formula One these days. I know Cisco and you guys are pretty big
we are.
involved.
We're big sponsors of McLaren.
McLaren, and exactly. And so if I can actually have an AI assistant that can help me and my son get a much better prediction every year of all the car changes, and because it's a very complex system, as you know.
It is. That's right. I mean, this is the equivalent of having your own March Madness for Formula One.
It's a bracket, exactly.
A nice bracket that just says, hey, I just saw somebody drive with these tires or somebody
these
lost
changes,
some pounds, and it's like, oh, that's fantastic. I love it. Abhay, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time, and thanks for hanging out with me.
Great to be here, and congrats again.
Thank you. Thanks so much.